You think you know the United Kingdom, but what if almost everything you picture when you hear that name is wrong? Most people see red phone boxes, rolling green hills, and the River Thames winding through London. But beneath that postcard image is a country so geographically strange, so geologically ancient, and so full of hidden contradictions that it barely makes sense at first glance. Today you are going to discover 20 geography facts about the United Kingdom that most British people do not know. And by the time we reach number 1, you will never see this island the same way again. Every single one of these facts has been verified. From a drowned land bridge lying beneath the North Sea, to a volcanic event that created near-identical coastlines in 2 different countries, to the ocean current that gives Britain its entire character. The truth of this place is far stranger than the legend. Let us count it down. Fact 20. The United Kingdom is not one island. It is thousands. When you look at a map, Britain appears to be a single solid landmass. That is a trick of scale. The United Kingdom and its surrounding waters contain thousands of islands, from vast northern archipelagos to tiny stacks of rock barely large enough to stand on. Scotland alone has over 790 offshore islands, only around 93 of which are permanently inhabited. The rest are swept by Atlantic winds and colonized by seabirds. Britain is not a country sitting on land, it is a country sitting in the sea. Fact 19. No point in Great Britain is more than 75 miles from the sea. For a country with inland cities like Birmingham and Sheffield, this sounds impossible. But because of Britain's narrow, irregular shape, carved by millions of years of erosion and glacial retreat, no single point on the mainland sights further than approximately 75 miles from the sea. The sea penetrates the island through estuaries, rivers, and inlets so deeply that it is never truly far away. This geography shaped everything: trade, naval dominance, empire. The sea was never Britain's border. It was Britain's engine. Fact 18. The longest river in the UK is not the Thames. Ask almost anyone and they will say the Thames. It flows through the capital, carries centuries of history, and is perhaps the most famous river in the English-speaking world. But the answer is wrong. The River Severn, rising in the Cambrian Mountains of Wales, runs 354 kilometres to the Bristol Channel, 8 kilometres longer than the Thames. The Severn also produces one of the most dramatic natural events in Britain: the Severn Bore, a rolling wave generated when Atlantic tides surge into its narrowing estuary, travelling upriver at speeds of up to 20 kilometres per hour. Fact 17. The White Cliffs of Dover are made of ancient sea creatures. Stand at the edge of those famous white walls and you are looking at a graveyard. The chalk that forms the White Cliffs is composed almost entirely of the microscopic remains of tiny marine organisms called coccolithophores, which lived in a shallow tropical sea that covered southern England roughly 70 to 100 million years ago. When they died, their calcium carbonate shells sank and compressed over millions of years into the rock visible today. Each centimetre of cliff represents thousands of years of biological accumulation. These are not cliffs. They are the compacted remains of trillions of ancient lives. Fact 16. Ben Nevis is an Arctic outpost hiding in the Scottish Highlands. Ben Nevis stands at 1,345 metres, the highest point in the entire British Isles, but its true strangeness is not its height. The summit exists in a near-Arctic environment where snow can fall in every single month of the year, and the average annual temperature sits around minus 0.5 degrees Celsius. Between 1883 and 1904, meteorologists staffed an observatory at the top and recorded some of the most extreme weather ever documented in Britain. From the car park at the base, visitors see a green mountain on a summer's day. What they cannot see is the winter that never fully leaves the top. Fact 15. Wales has more castles per square mile than any country in Europe. Wales covers just 20,000 square kilometres, yet within those borders stand approximately 600 castles, the highest density of fortifications per square mile anywhere in Europe. Most were built during the Norman and Plantagenet campaigns to subdue Welsh independence, culminating in Edward I's Iron Ring. Harlech, Beaumaris, Conwy, Caernarfon, a chain of fortresses designed to hold an entire nation captive in stone. The hills and valleys of Wales are not simply countryside, they are an open-air record of centuries of warfare and resistance. Fact 14. Britain was once physically connected to continental Europe. Around 8,000 years ago, you could walk from what is now London to what is now Denmark without getting your feet wet. The land that once bridged Britain and Europe, now lying beneath the southern North Sea, is called Doggerland. It was a wide, low plain of marshes, rivers and forests, home to Mesolithic people who hunted and fished there for thousands of years. As the last ice age ended and sea levels rose, Doggerland was slowly swallowed. The English Channel does not separate Britain from Europe. It marks the grave of a drowned world. Fact 13. The English Channel was carved by catastrophic ancient flooding. Before sea levels swallowed Doggerland, Britain was separated from France by a chalk ridge acting as a natural dam. Roughly 450,000 years ago, a massive glacial lake that had built up behind this ridge overflowed, breached the chalk and unleashed a torrent of water southward with a force beyond anything a modern river could produce. The evidence, immense scoured valleys on the channel floor still visible in sonar imaging today, proves it. Britain was not always an island. It was cut free by catastrophic flooding. Fact 12. The Giant's Causeway and a Scottish island share the same ancient volcanic event. The legend says the Irish giant Finn McCool built the Giant's Causeway to fight a Scottish rival. The geological truth is almost as dramatic. Around 60 million years ago, intense volcanic activity in what is now Northern Ireland produced vast flows of cooling basalt lava. As the rock contracted, it fractured into approximately 40,000 interlocking columns, most with 6 sides, fitting together with near mathematical precision. The same volcanic event also produced Fingal's Cave on the Scottish island of Staffa, around 200 kilometers away across the sea. 2 countries, one ancient eruption, the same impossible architecture carved in stone on opposite shores. Fact 11. Loch Ness contains more fresh water than all of England and Wales's lakes combined. You know Loch Ness for the legend. Here is the fact that eclipses it. Loch Ness is not Scotland's largest loch by surface area. That is Loch Lomond. But Loch Ness holds approximately 7.5 cubic kilometres of fresh water, making it the largest freshwater body by volume in the entire British Isles, more than all the lakes in England and Wales put together. Its maximum depth reaches 230 metres. Its dark, peat-stained water absorbs almost no light below the surface. Whatever may or may not lurk in its depths, the sheer volume of this loch is stranger than any myth. Fact 10. The Jurassic Coast is a 185 million year walk through time. Along the coastline of Dorset and East Devon, the cliffs do not simply erode, they reveal. The Jurassic Coast, a UNESCO World Heritage Site, exposes 185 million years of Earth's geological history in a single 95-mile stretch of shoreline. Walk from west to east and you move through time itself. From the red Triassic desert rocks at one end, through the shallow seas of the Jurassic, to the Cretaceous chalk at the other. Fossils emerge from the cliffs after every winter storm. Ammonites, ichthyosaurs, the bones of creatures that swam above a seabed that is now a clifftop. This coast is not eroding, it is being read. Fact 9. Shetland is closer to Norway than to London. Find the Shetland Islands on a map and measure the distances carefully. Bergen in Norway lies approximately 400 kilometres from Lerwick, Shetland's main town. London lies almost 970 kilometres to the south. The islands were part of Norway until 1468, when they were pledged as security for a royal dowry that was never paid. Norway never reclaimed them. The Norse language was spoken in Shetland until the 18th century, and even today the local dialect carries words that trace directly to Old Norse. The United Kingdom's most northerly territory still carries a strong Scandinavian imprint. Fact 8. The Strait of Dover is only 33 kilometres wide, and the cliffs are shrinking. At its narrowest point, the gap between England and France measures just 33.3 kilometres. On a clear day, you can see France from the cliffs at Dover with the naked eye. This sliver of water is one of the busiest shipping lanes on the planet, with approximately 500 vessels passing through every single day. And here is the detail most people never hear. The White Cliffs lose roughly 30 centimeters of chalk to the sea each year through erosion, although individual collapses can remove far more at once. The coastline is not a permanent boundary. It is a slow surrender. Fact 7. The Cairngorms are an Arctic plateau hiding 2 hours from Edinburgh. The Cairngorms National Park is the largest in the United Kingdom, covering 4,528 square kilometres, larger than the entire county of Lincolnshire, but its scale is not its most remarkable quality. Much of its central plateau lies above 1,000 metres and sustains a genuinely sub-Arctic ecosystem. Reindeer graze here, the only free-ranging herd in Britain introduced in 1952. In winter, the plateau can experience blizzard conditions that rival anything in northern Scandinavia. The Cairngorms are not wild countryside in the comfortable British sense. They are genuine wilderness, hiding in plain sight. Fact 6. The UK's coastline is long enough to stretch halfway around the planet, because every bay, inlet and rocky headland adds to the total when measured at a detailed scale, a phenomenon known as the coastline paradox. The UK's total coastline reaches approximately 17,820 kilometres, or around 11,000 miles. That is enough to stretch nearly halfway around the equator. A country smaller than the state of Oregon contains a coastline that rivals those of nations many times its size. Britain does not merely face the sea, it is consumed by it. Fact 5. The Pennines are built from rocks laid down hundreds of millions of years ago. The Pennines run approximately 400 kilometres up the spine of England, from the Peak District to the Scottish borders. Most people driving past on the motorway see modest, rain-grey moorland. What they are actually seeing is some of the oldest rocks exposed in England. The rocks that form the Pennines were laid down in the Carboniferous period, roughly 300 to 360 million years ago, when Britain sat near the equator beneath tropical swamps and shallow seas. The coal seams buried within those ancient rocks powered the steam engines that changed the world. The Pennines did not just shape England, they fueled it. Fact 4. The North Atlantic Drift is the reason Britain is so much milder than it should be. London sits at roughly the same latitude as Calgary, Canada. Edinburgh shares its latitude with Moscow. By the logic of geography alone, Britain should be far colder than it is. It is not because of the North Atlantic Drift, a powerful ocean current that carries warm surface water from the Gulf of Mexico northeastward across the Atlantic, helping to bathe Britain's western coastline in warmth it would not otherwise have. Without it, Britain's winters would be dramatically colder, and its landscapes and settlement patterns would look very different. Britain did not choose its character, the ocean helped shape it. Fact 3. Loch Ness is the largest lake in the British Isles, and almost nobody knows its name. Most people have never heard of it. Yet Loch Ness in Northern Ireland covers 383 square kilometres, making it the largest freshwater lake by surface area in the entire British Isles. Larger than Windermere, larger than Loch Lomond, larger than any lake in England, Scotland or Wales. It sits in a shallow basin in the heart of Northern Ireland, draining northward to the sea via the River Bann. Myth says it was created when the giant Finn McCool scooped a handful of earth from Ireland and hurled it into the Irish Sea. The hollow he left became the Lough. The clump he threw became the Isle of Man. The actual explanation involves millions of years of geological subsidence. Both feel like they fit a lake of this scale. Fact 2. Much of Britain's landscape was rebuilt by ice. The Lake District, the Scottish Highlands, the valleys of Wales, the flatlands of East Anglia. Much of it is the direct legacy of glaciation. At the peak of the last ice age, roughly 20,000 years ago, an ice sheet up to 2 kilometres thick covered most of Britain. When it retreated over the following millennia, it left behind many of the landforms you see today. U-shaped valleys carved by slow-moving glaciers, lakes born from buried ice blocks that melted into the ground, moraines marking where the ice paused and dropped its debris, and hilltops smoothed by the weight of millions of tons of moving ice. Much of the British landscape is not ancient and unchanging. It is comparatively young terrain that emerged from beneath the ice only around 12,000 years ago. In geological time, what you are standing on is brand new. Fact 1. Britain became the world's first industrial nation in large part because of its geography. This is the fact that ties every other one together. The Industrial Revolution did not happen in Britain through genius or coincidence alone. Geography was a major part of it. The island sat at the crossroads of Atlantic trade winds and North Sea shipping lanes. Many of its rivers were navigable. Its coal seams lay near the surface in the carboniferous rocks of the Pennines you learned about earlier. Its harbours were naturally sheltered by the same glacial forces that reshaped the entire landscape. The Pennine coal beds powered the steam engines. The rivers of Lancashire drove the cotton mills. The deep ports of Liverpool, Bristol and London connected those factories to the entire world. Every geological accident that shaped this island, the ancient rocks, the glacial rivers, the tidal estuaries, the warming ocean current, helped produce the conditions that launched the modern age. Britain did not choose its destiny. Its ground helped shape it. From the drowned landscape beneath the North Sea to the Arctic plateau hiding in the Scottish Highlands, from the volcanic columns linking two countries across the sea to the chalk cliffs built from the bodies of ancient marine creatures, the United Kingdom is not the ordinary island most people picture. It is a place where ice, ocean currents, catastrophic floods, and hundreds of millions of years of geology came together to create something that should not, by any reasonable measure, exist. If you made it this far, you now know things about the United Kingdom that most British people were never told. And there are hundreds more where those came from. If you want to keep going deeper into the hidden geography of the UK's most extraordinary places, subscribe right now and hit the notification bell. A brand new geography deep dive goes up every single week, and the next one might just change the way you see the UK all over again.